Hey everyone, Stacey Frizzell here. Just wanting to follow up from my previous videos, continuing to talk about changing the brain. I've had a couple people ask me since then, who is one of my favorite authors to read on this topic, and by far it'd have to be Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his research, I love his work. He is proving how amazing our brain is and how we can heal from things that we have been told previously were impossible to heal from. And he has a lot of really thoroughly researched and science based evidence to prove otherwise. So if you're into this kind of thing, Dr. Joe Dispenza is who you want to look up. So going more on the topic of changing our addictions to thoughts, feelings, behaviors, certain tendencies, whether it's anxiety, sadness, anger. It could be overeating, smoking. And it's easy to say, well, just stop doing that. Stop being angry. Stop overreacting. Stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. And for some, sure, it's that easy. But for most, it's not that easy. And, it's like the quitting smoking. Okay, so you stop putting cigarettes in your mouth, but it may not last because you haven't changed at the core. You're just changing the action, but you're not changing the thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and associations with smoking to really make that lasting change. So it's really at the core of who we are to make any committed, long lasting change. And change is uncomfortable. It's again that example of not putting a cigarette in your mouth. It's like every cell in your body is screaming, put a cigarette in your mouth. And so you have to override that discomfort over and over. And not only that, but choose an elevated emotion to replace it with, or an elevated thought or reason. So then your brain starts to see, oh, he's not doing it despite me turning up the volume of discomfort. And you're adding this cocktail of good feelings, so the brain eventually starts to get the message. But it takes time and it takes persistence. And that's really what I'm learning firsthand, breaking some lifelong programs and thoughts and beliefs that simply are not serving me any longer. And I find the more I do not participate in them, and I choose to think greater than I feel, and I choose elevated emotions, it kind of kicks up a little storm, and those thoughts get louder and more intense because my body's addicted to it. It's really quite profound, and I really want you to play with this yourself and notice how you tend to think about something in terms of thinking about it negatively, and you'd like to change that. Notice as you start to break your association, see if it fights you back a little. And that right there is evidence of there's this kind of chemically addicted wild animal in us that tries to overtake us and run us on autopilot and do things we don't want to do. It's like yelling and screaming at your kids, but you have the choice to stop and go, okay, I feel that's my automatic reaction, but right now I'm going to choose to speak firmly and calmly. And over time, we begin to make new associations, but we must be patient, consistent, and very compassionate and forgiving, as we trip along the way on the journey to wholeness. I would invite you to watch the video I posted earlier about the man riding this bike, and it totally explains in a really cool way what I'm talking about. He learns to ride a bike that is backwards, essentially. So when you turn left, the bike actually goes right. And what I really got from that video is it may feel like we're getting nowhere when it's about trying to change a habit or change beliefs that aren't serving us. And it can feel really frustrating. But if we stay consistent, eventually those new connections grow and wire together in the brain. And just like that, overnight change is made. It goes from not feeling like we're getting anywhere to big change happening. So I'm going to stick with it, and I hope you'd like to play with this and try this too. Why not? Science is showing us that all these changes are possible, and even showing us what our obstacles are and why, and how we can overcome that.